Hi everyone, today we're back for a new video on Oxygen Not Included, and today we see the latrines and the washrooms. The latrines and the washrooms both allow your duplicants to empty their bladder. So every cycle your duplicant will need to either use an outhouse or a lavatory in order to empty its bladder. If it doesn't have the possibility, the opportunity to use one of these two because there is none of them available, what's going to happen, they will just release the bladder anywhere, and it's going to create basically polluted water, which is going to be inconvenient to manage for your colony. The water room is composed of outhouses and wash basins, and these are the two buildings that will be available earlier in the game. They will be available before the buildings that are in the top room, and therefore it's probably going to be easier to build them in the first place. If I hover over the outhouse, we can see that it's currently out of order, and the reason that it's currently out of order is because it doesn't have enough dirt. It requires 200 kilograms of dirt, so that means that a duplicant will need to go and pick up that resource somewhere on the map and bring it to your outhouse in order to make it work. That also means that it will require some times from your duplicant. It will take some times of your duplicant in order to do that task. Now if I hover over the wash basin, we can see that it also requires a resource. It requires 5 kilograms of water. So that means that your duplicants will also need to bring that water to the wash basin. So one more time they will need to use their time in order to complete that task and go and pick up the water somewhere on the map and bring it to the wash basin. So if they don't, they will not be able to use the wash basin when they go to the outhouse, when they use the outhouse, and therefore they will spread germs across the colony. These germs could make your duplicant sick if they inhale them. So for that reason, it is better if your duplicants are able to use this wash basin. Your duplicants will have more germs after using the outhouse, so for that reason, it is more interesting to set the direction of the wash basins to the exit. So now it's set in both ways, but it is more interesting to set the direction of the wash basins to the right in that case, because the door is on the right of these wash basins. Now if you look at the room that is on the top, we can see that it has different buildings. It has lavatories instead of outhouses, and it has sinks rather than wash basins. Let's start with the lavatories. So the lavatory needs a liquid input and a liquid output. So it's going to take in water and it's going to output polluted water. So that means that every time a duplicant goes to the lavatory and uses it, it's going to consume 5 kilograms of water and it's going to produce 11.7 kilograms of polluted water. If there is no clean water in the input pipe, your duplicants will not be able to use these lavatories and they will be out of order, so that's something to be careful of. That also means that when it's set up, the clean water should be running without any intervention from your duplicants, and the polluted water should be running as well without any intervention from your duplicants. So for that reason, it takes a bit of time from your duplicant to set up that network, that piping network, but once it's been set up, your duplicants should not spend any time to maintain that network or maintain these lavatories. The next building is the sink, and the sink works similarly to the wash basins. I mean, the purpose is the same, so your duplicants will be able to use it in order to remove germs after they use the lavatory. Similarly to the lavatory, the sink will require water as an input, and it will produce polluted water that will be outputted. We can see that it requires 5 kilograms of water per use, so every time your duplicant wants to use it, it will require 5 kilograms of clean water, and it will produce 5 kilograms of polluted water as well. The benefits are the same as well. The sinks don't need a lot of maintenance work once it's been set up, but it will require some work from your duplicants in order to set the piping network. But once that's done, your duplicants will not need to waste any time in order to maintain these sinks. And here as well, of course, we can change the directions to be to the right to all our sinks, because our exit door is on the right, so we know that our duplicants will leave from the left to the right, and we know also that our duplicants will have germs once they've used the lavatory. We're also able to build rooms using these buildings. So at the top we have a latrines room, so if I turn on the room overlay, we can see that we have latrines at the bottom, and at the top we have washrooms. Depending on the room, your duplicants will have a bonus to the morale. So if, for example, I look at the latrines, we can see that our duplicants will have a bonus of +1 to the morale, where for the washrooms they would have a bonus of +2 to the morale. So for that reason, the washroom is also more interesting, not only it requires less maintenance from your duplicants when it's been set up, but also your duplicants will have an extra morale bonus once they use the washroom. To get these rooms and their morale bonuses, we need to fulfill some requirements. So the requirements for the latrines are easier to get than the one for the washroom. Both rooms have a size requirement, so they both need to be a minimum of 12 tiles and a maximum of 64 tiles. They also require to have no industrial machinery inside the room. The difference between the two rooms is about the buildings that it contains. So in order to be a wash basins, it requires to contain buildings that have a piping network. So for example, lavatories and sinks, they both need liquid as an input and liquid as an output. Where for the latrines, it doesn't have this requirement. It doesn't need to have a piping system connected to the building. So for that reason, we can simply use outhouses and wash basins in order to have latrines. I've now expanded the room by 4 tiles, and we can see that if I turn on the room overlay, we no longer have washrooms. We now have a miscellaneous room, which doesn't give us any morale bonus. So the reason is because now we are not meeting the size requirements anymore. It's not a size of 64 tiles, but it's a size of 69 tiles, and for that reason it's not a washroom anymore. So the maximum building that you can fit in a latrine or in a washroom is 4 lavatories or outhouses and 4 sinks or wash basins. I've now implemented the setup so we can have our latrines and our washroom working. So if we look at the liquid piping system, we can see that we need to have water as an input. So in this case I use the depth pump liquid, but you will need to get that water from another source in a real game. And I also set the exit, the output. So here we'll have the polluted water that is going to exit and is going to go in that room here. I also had a duplicant to deliver dirt to these outhouses and water to these wash basins. So he grabbed the dirt from one of these storage bins and he grabbed the water from that pitcher pump. So now we see our duplicants both use the lavatory and the outhouse. So if I activate the jumps overlay to see the germs, if some germs are created once they've used it, we can see that there is more germs. Joshua has about 36,000 germs of food poisoning, and Ruby has less germs but still 3,000 germs. So in order to do that, they will need to use the sink and the wash basin in order to remove them. We can see that using the wash basin and the sink remove these germs. So once they exit the latrines and the washroom, we can see that there is no germs on them. We can also see that the lavatory has consumed clean water and has produced polluted water that we can see here, and same goes for the sink. The sink has consumed clean water and is currently also outputting polluted water. The outhouses also produce polluted dirt. We can see here that it produces 19.7 kg per use, but it doesn't output polluted dirt at every visit, every time a duplicant use it. We can see here if we hover over this outhouse that it has 14 visits remaining, where if we look at this outhouse, we can see that only we have 15 visits remaining. So after these 14 visits on this outhouse, it means that a duplicant will need to come in order to maintain it, and some polluted dirt will be outputted. Something else that we can notice if we turn on the decor overlay is that these two rooms have a decor that is quite poor. We can notice that the latrine has a decor that is even poorer than the washroom. That is due to the fact that the outhouses have a decor debuff that is higher than the lavatory. So if we check at the outhouse, we can see that it has a decor debuff of minus 18 over 5 tiles, where the lavatory has only a decor debuff of minus 9 over 2 tiles. To improve that decor, there are multiple things that can be done. So for example, we can use carpeted tiles, or we can also use crown molding in order to improve that decor.